3 years ago, after 10 plus years of sitting down all day, every day, working my job as a professional illustrator, I decided to lace up my trainers and go for a jog. I huffed and I puffed my way around a 5k loop in my local residential area and returned a broken husk of a man. But I loved it. Since then, my passion for running has become a full-blown obsession. In April, I'm running the London Marathon for Team Oxfam, and to raise money, I'm doing a giant drawing of it too. This is Run London, Draw London, an illustrator's training diary, episode 3. Hello, I'm Dan. I'm an illustrator and animator, and in just 10 weeks, I'm running London Marathon for Team Oxfam. Run London, Draw London is my video diary series where I share the ups and downs of training alongside an insight into my life and creative practice. And this year, I'm doing something extra ridiculous. Alongside my training, I'm also attempting to draw one of the largest crowd scene illustrations I've ever done of the London Marathon. And for just a £5 donation, you can request any character you like to be drawn into the scene. Yes, any character. In episodes 1 and 2, I pitched my big idea and shared the initial base building phase of the illustration. In this episode, you'll see we're now in full swing and we're adding your characters to the scene. However, when it comes to the training side of this ambitious Hail Mary of a project, that's where we've hit some turbulence. An accumulation of factors has resulted in some pretty patchy training the last few weeks. The three evil eyes of injury, illness, and infants have torn their way through this training block. However, it's how we now respond to these setbacks that really holds the key to pulling this whole thing off. So without further ado, let's get into it. We last left things at the end of week 4. However, the demands of training, filming, working, editing, and parenting were all starting to catch up with me a bit. So it took a couple of weeks off the daily diary just to reset. So, to bring you up to speed, here is a whistle-stop tour of weeks 5 and 6. Leg felt good again, got back to training, lots of easy stuff and a big old 26k'er. Baby turned 1, car nearly ran out of petrol and we're still listening to K-pop Demon Hunters every single day. Suddenly leg felt bad again, so I stopped running. I got seconds away from doing my first ever live stream, but then everyone got sick, which meant time off training, time off work, and everything's gone a little bit to Welcome to week 7. Despite some frustrating setbacks with this injury, Monday was a ton of fun. The week prior, I'd posted out a call for a photographer to shoot some promotional shots for this project, and I couldn't believe my luck when an old friend of mine, Harry Swin, reached out offering his services. Harry is the founder of Circus, an independent, ethically sourced running apparel brand. He also runs Grove Lane Run Club in southeast London. As well as being a hell of a businessman and an excellent runner, Harry is a killer photographer, so I couldn't have jumped faster to take him up on his offer. Since we somehow managed to catch a morning where it wasn't raining, we decided to head to the track to shoot first, and I got to tentatively get a few strides in for show, being very careful not to overdo it. But God, it felt good to be back at the track again, even if it wasn't for a proper session. We then jumped back to the studio in the afternoon and got some studio shots, and Harry did his best to get this wooden mannequin to resemble something like an illustrator, relaxed and hard at work. Tuesday was another day when my plans continued to evade my attempts to organise them. I decided it was time to get some answers about why my leg has been bothering me and booked a physio consultation. My appointment was at 10:30, so I figured that was just enough time to get a swim in after I dropped the girls off at nursery, but I left my pissing gym bag at home, so after an hour-long wait in the cafe when I could have been cross-training, I finally got some answers. Shin splints, which is a relief, as I was thinking it could be bone stress or something worse, so now we know what we're working with. It's time to get to work on a recovery plan. In the afternoon, I changed shifts with my wife, looking after our poorly baby, and took her out for a bit of fresh air. First, I quickly darted into the studio to collect a very special package, more on that later, and then we somehow stumbled into an almost 1,000-year-old church for a coffee and a bit of soft play. Interesting vibes. Wednesday was our baby and I's weekly trip to my mum's. Sadly, no run, but I did manage to work up the project that I'm still not allowed to disclose the details of. Sorry, I hate it when people do that, but all will be revealed soon. And I also did my first ever live stream on Instagram, and it was really fun. I spent just under an hour working up the final background details and chatting through the process. As far as first attempts go, I think that was pretty good going. Sadly though, the afternoon was cut a little short, as it was now my wife's turn to take the sickness baton in this never-ending relay of illness. So work came to a halt, and we hot-footed it back home to look after her. Thursday, I spent all day at the gym. I have been gasping for some exercise. My last workout in any capacity was a week ago, so I decided to set up camp at Nuffield for the day and jump back and forth between working in the cafe, doing some S&C, and then an hour-long Zone 2 session on the indoor bike. Boring, yes, but incredibly satisfying to be back working out again. I also got my photos back from the shoot we did on Monday, and I'm super happy with how they turned out. Harry managed to make it look like I kind of know what I'm doing, both at the track and the studio, which was a pleasant relief. Friday continued the trend of plans being in a constant state of unravelling. First, I drove my daughter to her swimming lesson in the morning, only to remember as we got there that it wasn't on due to half term. So we drove back home again, and I took her for a pram nap instead. I then shot over to the gym for a swim, but the pool was closed, so I reluctantly hopped back on the bike. After the gym, I got my now very sore ass over to the studio to do some voiceovers for the YouTube and put together my case study for this very special project I've been teasing for the running channel. How do you turn an entire running community into a single illustration? A few weeks back, the Running Channel asked me to design an illustration to celebrate the first anniversary of the Running Channel Club. And as a member myself, this one felt extra special. The club is made up of different tribes: marathoners, couch to 5k runners, trail runners, park runners, all with their unique reasons to run. So I created an illustration that brings all those individual stories together in one shared space. I started with loose sketches in Procreate, built out the characters, added a few hidden Easter eggs for members, and then brought it to life with a splash of colour. And this is the final design. I'm really proud of this one. Thanks again to the Running Channel, not only for the fun job, but for creating a friendly, welcoming space for runners of all abilities. Here, as usual, is a section where we catch up on the progress being made on the marathon illustration. And guys, we're doing it. After I made my final tweaks to the base layer of the illustration, I made one subtle but important change. I adjusted the colour green I had been using to a shade that better represented the colours of Oxfam. I think this just gives the whole project a little bit more uniformity. Once that last adjustment was made, we finally, at long last, started working through the list of characters. I've absolutely loved working through your suggestions so far. We've had a Beefeater, William Shakespeare, Banana drinking a beer, the Cray twins, and some really niche ones like a bee knitting a beehive, and Steve from Minecraft with the netherite sword. I had to Google that one. It's fun, it's challenging, and it's raising money for a really good cause at the same time. There are a lot more of your characters to work through, but I still need more than I currently have to fill the entire image. So if you're thinking about getting involved in the project, now would be a really good time to do so. Just hit the Just Giving link in my bio or in the description below. Okay, thank you. Back to the training diary. Monday. After 2 brutally long weeks of patience, I passed the hop test and decided it was time to run again. I'm about to go on my first run in 2 weeks. I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty scared. Like, I wouldn't ordinarily be so scared if I didn't have like the marathon coming up in a few weeks. But that looming deadline means if this doesn't go right, or if things don't go right with this the recovery, I could risk setting back another 3 weeks. So I'm feeling pretty nervous. Ooh, I'm a bag of nerves. I'm only going for 20 minutes. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It was just 20 minutes, and I was constantly overthinking and worrying about my shin. But you know what? It felt great. And maybe we're back in the game. Giddy and full of tempered excitement, I spent the afternoon in the studio making very silly content to promote the marathon project. Tuesday. After a bit of strength work, I stuck with the programme and got myself back on the bike instead of running. Very boring. I am so tired of watching Dion Dublin on Homes Under the Hammer, but I am determined to make that start line in one piece. Then it was into the studio for more silliness and another live stream. Wednesday I was down in Hampshire again, making the most of Nana's daycare centre, and I got to carry out test run number 2. I also like to use the woods as the location to record the intros to this series, as they're usually very quiet and normally there's no one around. After another successful test, it was back to Mum's to add some characters to the scene. Captain Sensible sent me back to the gym on Thursday for another S&C session, followed by another boring, sweaty hour on the bike. I then shot over to the studio to put the first brushstrokes down on a very exciting new collaboration with running hat brand Runner. I am a big fan of their caps, so absolutely jumped all over the opportunity to work with them on an artist crossover. It was then back home to cook dinner and spend some time with the family. Friday. After my baby daughter's weekly swimming lesson, I was very excited to lace up and head out for my third test run of the week. And you know what? It felt incredible. Honestly, the best I've felt in weeks and weeks. I'm finally starting to trust my leg again. Then in the afternoon, I rounded out the week by making more silly videos and doing some very exciting admin. And that wraps episode 3. All in all, I'm feeling more positive than I did at the start of this episode. When I recorded that first week, I was feeling pretty low and frustrated about the whole injury situation. I thought I'd taken all the necessary precautions to tackle the training in a sustainable way, but there are some things in life you just can't control. However, with spring now in the air and a handful of pain-free runs under my belt, I'm feeling more optimistic and fingers are tightly crossed that in the next episode you'll see me starting to build mileage again as we creep closer to the start line. In terms of the illustration, it is so much fun to be fully underway now. Creating your characters is hands down the best part of my day, and donations wise, we're now creeping towards 50% funded, which is absolutely incredible. Thank you so much to everybody who has participated in this project so far. However, I will wrap today's episode with 2 calls to action. Firstly, if you've been enjoying the journey so far, please do consider hitting the subscribe button. Building a YouTube channel is tons of work, and every subscriber is incredibly valuable. And second, this whole project, experiment, kind of lives or dies on your guys' participation. It's an incredibly vulnerable position to put myself in, and I'm having almost daily wobbles about whether this whole endeavour is worth it. In making myself so vulnerable, I'm trying to show the raw, real human spirit that lives behind the will to create something ambitious. So if you like this project and you want to see it succeed, please do consider making a donation and suggesting a character. Every single penny is going to Oxfam, who put your money to work in meaningful, practical and often life-saving ways. Alright, thanks everyone, be good, I'll catch you on the next one.